Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. So I was looking out at the news like I always do on Friday because that's when they drop stuff that we need to be very careful about. Our governor is no exception because our governor likes to go after us and do it sideways. She never goes head on. So what she did is she held a public meeting. KOAT covered it. And I've been stewing about this for at least a day now, trying to think about what I was really pissed off about here. And what it is her public safety announcement just reinforces what we know about her being anti-2A and pretty much anti-New Mexican. Okay? She's spending more of her time and more of her elective capital. I knew I'd get the word out one way or another. On guns, when she should be actually focusing in on the real problem, which is crime. So she's splitting her efforts in her address, where she was talking about crime and what she's going to do to go after criminals in New Mexico, which we do need. So there is a need there, and her words didn't fall on deaf ears when she was talking about crime itself. Where it started getting into the weeds, though, is she was talking about an assault weapons ban. So I've checked out the New Mexico legislative session, and there isn't a bill yet, but it's going to be a floor call. A floor call, if you don't know what that is the governor will call down to the floor and say, hey, go ahead and introduce this. But the other bills that she already was talking about in this public safety announcement that she did are already there. So there's a 14-day waiting period. Let me find it for you. House Bill 129 is a 14-day waiting period. It's introduced by Andrea Romero. We should know who she is. You should be lighting up her phone, making her feel very uncomfortable that she's not going to get reelected and then she needs to go away. House Bill 127, which is age 21 for firearm purchases of any semi-automatic kind. Renee Zepansky, I don't know how to say her name, Rena Zepansky. She is definitely one of those ones she's also co-sponsored of the other bills that are on here that are anti-2A. So if you don't know what the current tally is, we have they're wanting to mess with the protective order. So that's House Bill 27, I believe. So let's go up here and scroll through this. And House Bill 27 is where they're messing with the extreme risk protection order. So it's red flag. Joy Garrett and Christine Chandler are the ones that are sponsoring that bill. There is safe storage, which Stephanie Lord was on. Gross receipt tax for firearms purchases and ammo, which is John Block, which I don't think it's going to pass, but I'm all for it. No background checks for firearm sales. House Bill 58, that's a Stephanie Lord one also. If you've ever been to the Roundhouse in Santa Fe, you were at one of these rallies, you met Stephanie Lord. She is one of those people that you will not forget. She's a firebrand for the Republican Party, and she's very much in our 2A camp, pro 2A camp. But those are the ones. There's John Block it's Andrea Reeb and Joshua Hernandez that are doing the gun storage tax credit, which is kind of cool. There's some permitless carrying, which of firearms, so constitutional carry. John Block's pushing that also, so that's good on him. What we need to be cognizant of is that this is going to be a shorter session, so the governor is going to try to push this stuff really hard and heavy. The first thing House Bill 114 is something we definitely want to pay attention to. This is the Firearms Industry Accountability Act. So what they're trying to do is allow New Mexicans and the state specifically to go hard and heavy after gun manufacturers like they would for cars. If a drunk driver were to crash into somebody, they want to go after people that have used guns, the guns themselves, the industry makers that make the gun, that have perpetrated these heinous acts, going after them. So, like I just said, it'd be like suing Ford or Chevy for a drunk driver using a Ford or Chevy product for killing, a family. They're wanting to go after them and hold them legally accountable. We can't let that stand, because what eventually happens is you start bankrupting these companies, and then we don't have them as an option. There's been some more clarity that's come out of what they're trying to do with Lake City Manufacturing. So what it is, it's actually a letter that went to the czar of gun violence in the federal court system, or in the federal offices. This is something that Republicans helped vote for, and now we're going to have to pay the price for it. Now, the good news isn't in that regard, or in that camp, is that the czar is the vice president. And if we know anything about the vice president, she's not really capable of doing anything. So don't expect a lot of movement. I also see in this type of scenario, what's actually happening is, because this is an election year, they're going to make as much noise and say we tried, so that they can get reelected, or try to get reelected this next term. So this is where we make them feel very uncomfortable. We make them understand that we are the voting populace, and we do not like what they're trying to do. Otherwise, we end up like Illinois. So if you haven't heard, Illinois has been forced to, anyone in Illinois who owns a firearm, first you had to get licensed. Now they're doing two things that are kind of hand in glove. One, if you refuse to hand over your license to buy a firearm, they will take your driver's license, so you become a third-class citizen. That's one thing. The second thing they're doing is that if you did not register your semi-automatic weapons, they're going to, and even if you did, it looks like they're putting in the mechanisms, the legal mechanisms that are to confiscate them. Now, there is low compliance in Illinois for this. There's also even lower appetite from law enforcement to enforce this, because they know who's going to have to go door to door to get said weapons. And all it's going to take is one group of people that just say no, and shut the door on their, in their face. That'll start making this really uncomfortable. What I'm afraid of is that we're in a position to win, guys. If we get violent, we're going to lose, because we will turn the rest of the American people against us. And it's taken us this long to get 62% of the American populace that are actual gun owners, even to the point where they're not willing to admit it on polls, but they actually have them. So we need to think really hard about what we do here. I would say the best thing you can do, the dude with the gun wins. Go to court, fight it out there. You have a better chance there. You have more support there than you think you do. Even if you aren't insured, you need to talk to the GOA, Gun Owners of America, the Firearms Policy Coalition. If you get into one of these states, one of these situations, I should say, not states, where you're being incarcerated or possibly being incarcerated for something that you did that was absolutely legal and constitutional. These guys will put their money where their mouth is, and that's why we pay them as members to do that. They're way more active. I expect the NRA, since they got rid of Wayne LaPierre, to start doing that too, because they're trying to make up ground for having Wayne LaPierre as their chief dude. So the NRA has a lot to atone for in the 2A community, in the gun community everywhere, because they have been made the bad guy. At the same time, they've shown that they were the bad guy for most 2A advocates, in that they're the ones that rolled us over in the clover and time again got in bed with people that were anti, 2A. Same with National Shooting Sports. These guys, National Shooting Sports, NSSF. So these are the guys that Glock usually puts in their little case when you buy it that you're supposed to join. And what these guys have done is they've actually sided with the liberals and the anti-gun community, and that Gun Safe Act that they're trying to, or the Safe Americans Act, I think is what it's actually called, where they're actually going hot and heavy after the 2A in a backwards way. And that's what's going to happen this year. you're going to see a lot of people go after institutions, financial institutions, cutting off the gun dealers, the gun manufacturers, the gun ammunition manufacturers from anything that they can do to keep their head above water, because they see if they choke them out that we don't have those resources in the 2A community. So what do we got to do? Be active. We need to go toe-to-toe with them. Be ready to go to rallies. Yeah, it sucks going all the way to Santa Fe, but having local rallies in a community like San Juan County, those are helpful, but they're not nearly as impactful as if we had those same groups show up in Santa Fe, because you're talking to the choir in San Juan County. Most of us agree with everything you say about the 2A, about our governor. We're on the same side already. So you're just in an echo chamber. You need to get down there, mix it up. The other thing you can do, even if you're not going down to the rallies, is call them. If you make the Roundhouse call center light up over this, it's going to draw attention. And that's where we have to be right now. This is the fight we have, at least for the month and a half or so that the session's going. We have to be very cognizant and very aware and keep fighting on. Like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, be great.